Hi everyone, it's BJ Roach from the UMaine Career Center. I am here today with Michelle Gayne from the UMaine College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. Hey Michelle,
Hi,
how you doing this morning?
good. How are you?
Good. So I have three main questions for you. Are you ready?
That would be great.
Okay. So the first question is, can you tell us about what it is that you do at UMaine? So your day
Sure.
to day and kind of mission of your position.
Yeah, so we run a professional advising center in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, essentially as a huge support piece for our faculty advisors. So while students do have a faculty advisor if they're in a major, we operate as a center for answering any questions for any students. And sometimes we even get students from other colleges, so we're happy to answer questions for them. But a lot of times what I do is really acclimate students to the university and then also get them back on track academically should they find themselves on a probation status or something. So out of our office, we oversee the first year seminars. So all of our new students are placed in that automatically in their first semester. So I enjoy seeing students at the beginning of their transition to UMaine, and then also, throughout as upper level students, particularly with students that, like I said, life happens. And so I help them navigate that. And a lot of times that's talking about goals and why they're in college and what they might want to do when they get out of college. And so no day is the same and no student is the same. And I think those are two things that I really like about my position.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the second question is, can you've seen a lot of students be wildly successful. You've seen students struggle. You've seen students come out of that struggle and find success on the other side. So keeping that all in mind, can you tell our students a little bit about what it is that you think is important for them to know to be successful in college? Just some tips that you have.
Yeah, and I really love this question, and I could talk about it forever. And I joke with colleagues that I should just write a little book. But I think one of the things that could be applied to students at any level of credit or standing at UMaine would be to not be afraid to ask for help. I know that sounds so cliche and simple, overly simplified, but I think a lot of times students come to UMaine or to college in general and they think, well, my question is dumb, or I can figure this out on my own, everybody else is. And I think the biggest thing is that we're kind of all going through this together and we're all human beings. And I think sometimes our students forget that professors are, um, or that their classmates might also be struggling in classes, whether it's Psych 101 or calculus. So I tell students right from the get-go to ask for help and often, because it will lay the foundation for confidence in asking for help as you go along even more. I also think um, making the most of your experience, not only in the class, but out of the class. So a lot of times I find that I'm always talking about academics with students, and I'm like, don't forget, Michelle, that the reason you got into this field, which we'll talk about later, is because of the things I did outside of school, in the evenings, on the weekends. So, doing that, making memories. A lot of times I'll hear students that, they just go to class and then they go back to their apartment or their residence hall. And there's just so much more. I think the big thing we've talked about in a lot of our, remote efforts to acclimate students to UMaine, like through orientation and such, has been that you can find your place at UMaine, that there's something for everyone. Um, so those are a couple things that I'd say. Um, I wrote down doing it right the first time, and I think what I meant by that is, pick a few things and do them really well. Don't try to overextend yourself, especially right away. And I also mean that with when you take on classwork. I think one thing I've seen is students try to rush to the finish line, so to speak, the graduation finish line. And everybody's journey is different. And some people are going to be better off taking 12 credits per semester and maybe picking up a winter term or summer term, which is one of the awesome things about UMaine, by the way, that you could literally go to school year round if you wanted to, or
Mhm.
catch up. and take a little bit of a lighter load. And I think when you take a little bit of a lighter load, you're opening yourself up to be able to have extra time to get involved and know yourself as a person outside of class.
I think that's all great advice. I have a follow-up question. Can you talk a little bit in general about some students that you've seen who've maybe struggled academically? I think we have, a fair amount of students that do very well in high school and come to college and kind of expect the same results and find that either, a bad grade in a course or a semester that they struggled and then maybe they feel like college isn't for them or they need to throw in the towel. Can you talk about how you've seen students overcome those challenges and end up on the other side pretty successful?
Yeah, I think, and I think this really did feed into my my research area that I'm interested in studying in my own coursework, which is um, I think it's really about getting to root causes. I often say root causes with my academically, in jeopardy students. So a lot of times I will ask them, why are we here? Why are you here? I've been through school, so it's not about me, it's about your journey. So I ask them to tell me about their high school experience. I ask them to tell me about where they're from, what their family's like, who do they consider family, because it's not just a nuclear family, mom, dad. There are so many different ways that our students come to us and how they were raised. And I truly believe as an advisor that context is everything. So I try to get the students context. And a lot of times students haven't had such candid conversations with anyone on campus before about this type of thing, which I'm very comfortable talking about hard situations, which I think you're also comfortable with too, BJ, in your work. So I think that I'm tactful about it, but I also think that by the time students that are off course academically come to me, they're ready to kind of listen and be open to that. So for every student, it's different, but a lot of times what I've seen help them is a reduced course load, a revisiting of their academic plans and intentions. Are they in the right major? Do they want to be in that major, or is it for someone else? So a lot of times we do a lot of dreaming and kind of resetting that button of what is it about Maine? What is it about college in general? What is it about my future? Which looks very scary and uncertain, especially now. But so doing that, what were the things that got in the way? Was it because you studied in your bedroom at your apartment at the Ave? Or was it that, you had some toxic relationships, friendships, family members really bringing you down? Were you working 50 hours a week and taking 15 credits, which do not do, students do not do. Those are some things, right? And I think as a result of these conversations, I have amazing experiences and very grateful for the position I have.
And so there is academic life after a poor
Yes.
semester, a poor course. So students kind of have the resources to get back on track.
Yes, I would say so. And I think once our students start to experience what I call little victories,
Mhm.
they build confidence in themselves. And we stay in touch even after the semester that I'm working with them. So little victories matter. And it's, progress is progress.
Absolutely. Okay, so last question. This is my favorite as a career counselor. So I would love for you to tell us about your path to your current position. Full disclosure, Michelle and I have known each other for, I did the calculation this morning, 20 years.
Wow.
We went to college together at Maine. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm excited to kind of hear the highlights, but your college experience, kind of why you chose higher ed, what you love about it, and maybe what's next because you're a PhD student as well. So.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, BJ and I go way back, and I think have definitely some overlaying similarities. So I grew up also not up in the county like BJ, but in Fairfield, Maine. So it's fairly rural. My high school was, a bunch of little farm towns. I knew growing up really from the start that I wanted more. I wanted to get an education. I enjoy studying. I love learning for just that aspect, learning. So came to UMaine, of course, when I was like a junior or so. I thought I wanted to be a nurse. I don't know why I thought I wanted that. I think society puts a lot of career ideas in kids' heads, but
Yes.
I just knew I wanted to keep going, right? Keep studying. I was 17 when I moved onto campus, shortly turned 18, but um, and I think that's young to know what you want to do. And by the way, you don't have to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. That's really key to say. I don't know where my life is headed, career wise. I could, but anyway, you could find yourself anywhere. So being open to opportunity is huge. I decided to come in as a declared major for sociology, mostly because I took a social course in high school and I liked it. So I wanted to keep studying that. Um, and first semester was hard, right? I didn't have my best friend. I didn't know who I was, what I was doing. It was a big campus. And it was going to a meeting about becoming a student orientation leader that piqued my interest. And I went to, and honestly, everything else it was a blur. I don't even know how I found out about that meeting, but that is essentially where I met a core group of folks, including BJ, um, that because of them, I met other people, right? Networks, and never looked back. So from there, I became an RA, resident assistant, which helped pay for school, which was great. I don't think I would have been in school without financial aid or these, room and board waivers. And then I remember one of my resident assistants told me that I could do this for a living. And I was like, I remember it like yesterday. She was like, you can do this as a career. And I was like, what? Sure enough, I could. And UMaine is the only school in Maine that has a higher education in student development master's program. And I went right into that out of undergrad, which for me was a saving grace, right? Because I didn't know what I was going to do with a sociology degree, like maybe some of you are feeling. But I knew I wanted to help. And I found the college student experience fascinating, from who you are as a first year to who you are as a fourth or fifth year student. It's a tremendous amount of growth that you will be going through. And I stayed. I never left a college campus. That's what I joke around with people about, is that I've always worked on a college campus. And it keeps you young and on your toes, especially technology wise. You have to keep up with the kids. So I moved to Vermont as an act of rebellion. That was not that far away, right? But that's what I did after grad school. Came right back a couple years later, worked at a community college, which I never thought I would do. And that's the other piece of advice, is being open to things that might be not what you thought you would be doing. But some of the best experiences can come out of trying really new things. And it definitely, in the 8 years I was there, it shaped me as how I approached access to education. And then 5 years ago, I just decided I needed a change. I wanted to go back to school. UMaine is wonderfully supportive in the sense of offering tuition waivers to their employees. So I have been chipping away at my PhD in higher education. It's a PhD in education with a concentration in higher education. And higher education means that I get to work with college students for as long as I want. And here I am.
Nice. Thank you for sharing all that. The thing that I loved that you said, that I've heard time and time again, talking to our alum and just other people about their career path, is planned happenstance. So
Uh-huh.
being curious, going to one meeting, opening yourself up to a new opportunity that you didn't know anything about, literally changed the trajectory of your career and your life, and the people in your life. And we just hear that over and over, that just taking a chance and being curious and being open
Mhm.
can change the game.
Absolutely. Whether it's going to a club meeting, maybe a counseling session, trying a different class. I remember like yesterday taking modern dance at Maine for probably my art gen ed,
Mhm.
and I had a great time. I met, girls that I never had in class, probably would never see again. So that is the beauty of general education courses, wherever you go for school, is that it stretches you and pushes you, and in all the right ways. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So, last question, just for fun. What is something new that you've tried during this quarantine? It might be a new dish that you've cooked, or a new hiking trail, or a new hobby.
Sure.
What do you have?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've always enjoyed hiking. And I always talk with I like to upcycle furniture. So what's really funny is that every August or so, UMaine gets rid of, some furniture upgrades. So I was able to get a bunch of bureaus that you as students, when you lived on campus, had. And I like to sand them and paint them and add hardware. And so that's out in my garage, and my dog comes out with me. But I've always kind of done that. Something new is definitely trying new hiking trails. We live in Maine, and there's so much to explore and always somewhere to go. So even, and actually I was thinking of that for students that are either new or returning to campus. Go outside of the campus, get in someone's car. If you don't have your own, find some friends, and particularly like Chick Hill, Bald Mountain. Those are not necessarily easy climbs, but great views. You get some exercise, and you get to start to see our state, even beyond the campus perimeter. And what I like about it, I'm feeding all parts of my soul. I'm doing the physical exercise and doing the creative exercise, still doing my classes. So there's that intellectual component. It's about balance.
Yeah, no, I think that's important.
Hmm.
I think mine would be plants. So I've never been a plant person.
Hmm.
We have cats and dogs, and I had a plant once, and the cat kind of dug into it. And so I thought, oh, this isn't for me. And we have a lot of plants in the Career Center. We have a lot of plant lovers on our staff, and I kind of missed being around them. And so when I had to go into town to pick up some necessary things from Home Depot last week, I picked up just a ton of house plants. I think I might have gotten like 6 or 8 of them, and some pots, and the kids have been painting the pots, and so now we're surrounded by plants, and it's a little thing, but it just kind of brings some life into our house, and brings a little bit of my work life home that I'm kind of missing. So
And
like
I
a
love
plant.
yeah, and I love the metaphor about plants when you think about even just students, but also for yourself, just watching something. There's something about watching something grow, and seeing the development. I know it sounds so cheesy, but it's the best metaphor for progress. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true. We kind of look at them every day, and I'm looking around me because they're all around my kitchen, to see if they're growing or if they're doing well. So it's been kind of,
Yeah,
oh.
that's great.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Michelle. This was really fun. Again, Michelle works for the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences in advising, and all of our information is on the website. If any of you all have questions, you can reach out. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks.
Bye-bye.